My wife wrote a goodbye letter she never sent. I found it inside a box marked winter linens, folded between two old pillowcases and a sweater she had not worn in years. At first I thought it was something she wrote before we got married. Maybe a note to herself, maybe a draft of a birthday card. We had been packing for 3 straight weekends, and when you are surrounded by boxes, dust, and 20 years of things you forgot you owned, your mind does not jump to disaster. Mine should have. My name is Daniel Mercer. I was 44 years old when I found that letter. I worked as a senior property claims adjuster outside Columbus, Ohio. Most of my job involved walking into homes after people had lost something: a kitchen to a grease fire, a roof to hail, a basement to a broken pipe. I knew what water damage looked like. I knew what hidden rot looked like. I just did not recognize it in my own marriage. My wife Claire and I had been married 16 years. We had 2 kids, Sophie, 13, quiet and observant, and Owen, 9, who asked questions faster than most adults could answer them. We were not moving because our marriage was in trouble. At least, that was what I believed. We were moving because Claire had convinced me that our old house had become too expensive to maintain. The roof was aging, the furnace was unreliable, the school district near the new place was better. She had toured homes, met with agents, created spreadsheets, compared mortgage rates. She had been organized, focused, certain. I thought she was trying to build a future. I did not know she was trying to leave one. The letter began with my name, Daniel. If you are reading this, I finally found the courage to stop pretending. I remember sitting on the bedroom floor, one hand on the paper and the other pressed against the side of a moving box. The room around me had already been emptied. The dresser was gone. The curtains were down. There were pale rectangles on the wall where our family photos used to hang. It felt like the house had known before I did. I kept reading. Claire wrote that she had been unhappy for a long time. That part hurt, but it did not surprise me. People say they are fine for years, then use the past like a courtroom exhibit. Every missed dinner, every work trip, every time I was tired, every time I did not know what to say. Then she wrote his name, Aaron Vale. Aaron was a real estate broker, not ours, at least, not officially. I had met him once at an open house 8 months earlier. He had a polished smile, expensive boots, and a way of leaning forward when people talked that made them feel like he had nowhere else to be. Claire told me he was helping her understand the market. I remembered that phrase because she said it 3 times. I should have asked why a man who sold luxury homes was texting my wife after 10 at night. But I trusted her. That was the version of me she counted on. In the letter, Claire described the beginning of the affair in careful, almost gentle language. A late coffee after a showing, a conversation in his car when she said she felt invisible, a hotel bar during a real estate conference in Cincinnati. She did not describe anything graphic. She did not need to. The details that hurt were smaller. She wrote that Aaron remembered how she took her coffee, that he noticed when she changed her hair, that he had a nickname for the little scar near her wrist, the one she got slicing avocados when Sophie was a toddler. She wrote that he made her feel like she had a whole life outside of being somebody's wife and somebody's mother. I read that line 6 times. Then I read the next page. She wrote about lying to me. Not one lie, a system. The Tuesday night yoga classes she stopped attending after the first month. The client dinners that never had clients. The times she said she was helping her sister pick out furniture. The overnight women's wellness retreat in Michigan that she had spent in a rented lake house with Aaron. She had planned everything. She used grocery deliveries as proof she was home. She left her phone in the kitchen while she drove across town. She changed into different clothes at a gas station near Aaron's office because she did not want our neighbors to see her leaving in dresses she never wore around me. I did not cry. I wish I could tell you I did. Crying would have felt human. Instead, I felt like I had stepped into one of those fire-damaged houses I used to inspect. Everything was still standing. The walls, the floors, the furniture, but the structure was already gone. Then I reached the final page. At the bottom, beneath a paragraph about Aaron finding them a condo in Nashville, Claire wrote, "By the time Daniel understands what happened with the house, we'll be gone. Aaron says the bridge financing gives us enough time. He says Daniel will have to sell anyway." I read it again. Then I turned the page over. There was nothing there. Just that sentence. What happened with the house? Our house was not just where we lived. It was the first thing Claire and I ever built together. We bought it when Sophie was 2. I installed the floating shelves in the living room myself, badly at first, then better after 3 trips to the hardware store. Owen learned to ride a bike on that street. Claire planted the hydrangeas by the porch. My father helped me build the workbench in the garage 6 months before he died. I opened my laptop. At first I told myself there had to be an explanation. Maybe a home improvement loan. Maybe something Claire had started while planning the move. Maybe some paperwork I had forgotten signing. But I had spent 2 decades evaluating damage claims, reading contracts, spotting inconsistencies, and asking questions until people stopped giving rehearsed answers. The numbers did not lie. There was a home equity line of credit tied to our property. It had been opened 14 months earlier. I had never seen it. There was also a second loan application from 6 months before that. It had not gone through, but it listed a consulting business under Claire's name. A business I had never heard of. And then I found the transfers. Small amounts at first. $2,000. $3,500. Then $7,000. Payments to a company connected to Aaron Vale. The descriptions were vague. Market consulting, relocation planning, private advisory. But the timing was not vague. Every payment lined up with one of Claire's lies. The yoga class. The retreat. The client dinner. The weekend she told me she was staying with her sister because we both needed space. I sat there until the light outside the bedroom window changed. I do not know how long it was. At some point, Owen knocked on the door. "Dad?" I closed the laptop. "Yeah, buddy. Mom said you were helping pack." "I am." He pushed the door open with a roll of packing tape wrapped around one hand. "Can I put my dinosaur books in the blue box?" I looked at my son standing in the doorway, trusting me with something as small as a box of books. And I understood something. This was not just about what Claire did to me. This was about what she was willing to do to them. "Yeah," I said. "Blue box is perfect." I did not confront Claire that night. That is the part some people do not understand. They think calm means weak. They think if you do not explode, you do not care. But I cared too much to move without thinking. The next morning, I called my friend Maya Patel. Maya was not a divorce attorney. She was a financial attorney who had helped me once with a dispute over my father's estate. I told her only this: my wife may have opened financial obligations connected to our house without telling me. I found documents. I need to know what I should do before I make anything worse. Maya did not give me dramatic promises. She did not say, "You'll get everything." She did not tell me I could fix it in one phone call. She told me to preserve the documents, avoid changing or accessing anything I was not legally authorized to access, and speak with professionals who could review the debt and my options. That was enough. For the next 48 hours, I became the man Claire had stopped seeing. Not angry Daniel, not boring Daniel, not the husband she thought would forgive anything because he hated conflict. I became careful Daniel. I printed account statements from accounts in my own name. I saved the letter. I photographed the original exactly where I found it, then placed it in a secure folder with copies of every document I had lawfully accessed. I called a credit counselor. I spoke with a family lawyer Maya recommended. I checked our insurance, our mortgage records, our moving contract, and the offer we had made on the new house. That last part was the worst. Claire had pushed hard for us to put down a non-refundable deposit. She had told me the seller would walk away if we hesitated. But according to the documents, the new house was not a dream home. It was cover. The plan was simple enough to make me sick. We would sell our current house. The loans tied to it would come due. Claire would use the sale proceeds to clear the hidden debt and take what she could. Aaron had promised her a new start in Tennessee, and I would be left with whatever was left after the dust settled. Maybe nothing, maybe less than nothing. But Aaron had made one mistake. He assumed I would not look closely until it was too late. He assumed I would be too hurt to think. Claire came home late the next evening. She walked in carrying takeout from a place Owen liked, which almost made it worse. She looked tired, but not guilty. Not yet. "Long day?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. She kissed my cheek. I had kissed that same cheek every morning for 16 years. This time, I did not move away. I just stood there. At dinner, Sophie talked about a science project. Owen explained why his teacher was wrong about volcanoes. Claire laughed at the right moments. She asked them questions. She cut Owen's chicken into smaller pieces without looking down. For 10 minutes, we looked like a family. That was the cruelty of it. Not that every memory had been fake, that some of it had been real to me while she was building a door out. After the kids went upstairs, I waited until the dishwasher started. Then I placed the letter on the kitchen island. Claire saw it. She did not scream. She did not ask what it was. She just stopped breathing for a second. "Where did you find that?" "In the linen box." Her hand moved toward it. I put mine over the paper. "No." She looked at me then, really looked at me. "Daniel, don't start with my name like it's going to soften this." Her face changed. The first tear came quickly. "I was going to tell you." "No," I said. "You were going to leave." She looked down. That was answer enough. I asked her if Aaron Vale was real. She nodded. I asked if the relationship had been physical. She nodded again. I asked how long. "Almost a year." Almost a year. 52 weeks of shared breakfasts, school pickups, holiday photos, a year of me asking if she was okay, and her saying she was just tired. Then I asked the only question that mattered that night. "Did you use our house to fund your life with him?" Claire's eyes closed. "It wasn't like that." "Then explain it." She began with excuses. Aaron had promised to pay it back. The consulting business was supposed to become legitimate. She thought the new house would solve everything. She said she felt trapped. She said she was scared. Then she said the sentence that finally made me understand how far she had gone. "I didn't think you'd notice until after we sold." Nodded. "Not because I accepted it, because there was nothing left to argue about." "You were going to let me sign papers without knowing," I said. "I thought we could both start over." "You mean you and Aaron?" She looked at the letter. "I don't know what I thought." "I do," I said. "You thought I would keep being useful." I told her she would not be taking the children anywhere that night. I told her we would speak through lawyers about the house, the debt, and parenting arrangements. I told her she could sleep in the guest room or call her sister. She stared at me like I had become someone else. Maybe I had, but I was still the man who packed Owen's dinosaur books into the blue box. I was still Sophie's dad. I was still the person responsible for keeping the lights on, the mortgage paid, and the ground under my children's feet as steady as I could make it. Claire packed a bag. Before she left, she stood at the front door and asked, "Do you hate me?" I thought about it. "I don't know," I said, "but I know I don't trust you." She nodded once. Then she left. The next few weeks were not satisfying. That is something revenge stories rarely tell you. There was no perfect speech, no crowd applauding. No single moment where all the pain turned into strength. There were phone calls, documents, meetings, a budget written on a yellow legal pad. A night when Owen woke up crying because he thought moving meant he would never see his mom again. A morning when Sophie looked at me over cereal and said, "Dad, did Mom do something bad?" I did not tell them everything. Children should not have to carry the details of adult betrayal. I told them Mom and Dad were dealing with serious grown-up problems. I told them it was not their fault. I told them they were loved. I told them they would be safe. And then I spent every day trying to make that true. The debt did not disappear. Neither did the risk. But the house was not lost. Not because I won some magical legal battle, not because Claire's betrayal suddenly became simple. The process took time. There were negotiations, there were consequences, there were decisions neither of us wanted to make. But I stopped the sale before it became irreversible. I separated what I could separate. I built a plan around reality instead of the story Claire had been selling me. And Aaron? Aaron did not move to Nashville with her. When the money became real, when the documents became real, when lawyers started asking questions he could not charm away, he became exactly what men like him usually become, unavailable. His calls slowed down, then stopped. Claire told me that months later, during one of the conversations we had to have about the children. I did not feel victorious. I felt tired. Because the truth was, Aaron was never the main problem. He was an opening in the wall. Claire was the person who walked through it. A year after I found that letter, I was still in the same house. Not exactly the same life, but the same house. Sophie had painted her room dark green. Owen had moved on from dinosaurs to space. The workbench in the garage was still there. My father's old hammer still hung above it. The hydrangeas Claire planted came back that spring. I almost cut them down. Then I decided not to. They were just flowers. They did not betray me. One Sunday morning, Sophie came into the kitchen while I was making pancakes. She watched me burn the first batch, like always. Then she smiled and said, "You know, Mom used to say you were terrible at pancakes." "I am terrible at pancakes." "No," she said, "you just keep making them anyway." That stayed with me. Because maybe that was the difference. I could not repair the marriage by pretending it had not burned. But I could make a home out of what was left. I could keep showing up. I could learn every document before I signed it. I could protect my children without teaching them to hate their mother. And I could stop confusing peace with silence. Claire wrote a goodbye letter she never sent. She thought it was the beginning of her escape. For me, it became the end of the lie, and the beginning of a life where I finally read every page. If this story stayed with you, tell me in the comments, what would have been harder for you to forgive, the affair or the hidden debt against the family home? And if you enjoy long, original stories about betrayal, truth, and rebuilding a life with dignity, subscribe for the next one.
Clock strikes, silence wraps the room. A gentle breath, memories bloom. In corners where laughter used to spill, you linger here, you always will. Yeah.
Curtains drawn, the sunlight spills on me, tracing lines you left in quiet honesty. Words unspoken, pressed in dust and air, soft echoes marking everywhere. Yeah.
Heartbeat steady in the hush you made.
Caught between retreat and the parade, I find myself replaying every scene, every little whisper in between.
You are the thunder in a sunlit haze, the taste of coffee at the break of day. Still I wear your favorite jacket, walk familiar alleys, looking for laughter we used to chase.
I couldn't bow the lyric.
She steps in, painted in autumn tones,
Oh,
speaking truth in melodies grown. Her words a shelter from the gentle rain, wishing I could go back there again.
we made mistakes tied up in time, but every fall felt worth the climb. When comfort wore your cologne and smile, a moment's warmth that stays a while. Yeah.
You are the thunder in a sunlit haze, the taste of coffee at the break of day. Still I wear your favorite jacket, walk familiar alleys, looking for laughter we